Welcome to Sports Break, everybody. My name is Max Brunke, and today I am your one and only host. So, I guess to start, we can explain kind of what's been going on through the COVID period, because everybody has really experienced the same thing these past couple months, and I feel like it's sort of self-explanatory, but it's worth going through it. So the podcast that we record is recorded in our Ohio Bobcats podcast studio that is on campus in Athens, Ohio. And since all of us can't be there at the same time, it's been really hard to record podcasts and get together and discuss sports, really. I haven't seen any of the podcast boys. Shout out to Jack, Joe, Dylan, and Curtis for, first of all, sticking through this whole thing, and second of all, just fighting it out like the rest of us, and fighting through the adversity of not getting the journalism reps that we're going to get this year, and just kind of finding your own creative path. So shout out to them, first of all. And that's just really what I wanted to explain what's going on with the podcast stuff. We're going to try and do more Zoom / Microsoft Teams podcasts out, if possible. We're going to try and do more solo podcasts like this, just discussing our thoughts on certain sports, because some of us are more gifted in sports than others, so we want to take advantage of that, and we want to get together and do one large pod as well. If that can happen, you can expect a lot of content coming out of our end, and yeah, so let's just hop right into this. Alrighty, so at the time of recording this, it is 2 a.m. on Saturday, September 12th, and in about 5.5 hours, we got kickoff for the Premier League. So, you might have guessed it already, but this is going to be a Premier League podcast. It's going to be my, actually, first we're going to review the games for today's slate. Fulham versus Arsenal at 7:30 a.m., Crystal Palace versus Southampton at 10 a.m., Liverpool versus Leeds at 12:30, and my team, West Ham, going up against Newcastle at 3 p.m. And we're gonna walk through all of those. I'll give some mild predictions. I'm probably not gonna do scores tonight, but I'll give you winners. Then we're gonna move on to awards for the best and worst transfer windows, the most exciting team that's coming up, and maybe just a little sleeper team that might be doing better than what we expect. And then after that, we're going to move on to predictions, our relegation pick predictions, and then our title winner. And my title winner might not be what everybody expects it to be, although just a little hint, they've had a really nice offseason. All right, let's get into the kickoff. First game, Fulham versus Arsenal. First of all, I can basically guarantee that this will be an exciting first game. Fulham coming up from the championship. I believe they won the playoff, the promotion playoffs. Excuse me. They have an exciting squad. They've made a lot of decent signings. Kenny Tete coming in from Lyon for $3.5 million. I'm going to be converting everything that I read into dollars just because that's the notes that I have up. $3.5 million for Kenny Tete, right back out of Lyon. That's a pretty good signing. I don't know if he's going to start tomorrow just because the signing came in 2 days ago. He probably hasn't had time to practice and such. Another great notable transfer was Areola, the goalkeeper for PSG. He was backing up Navas, Jesus Navas, who recently moved to PSG either last year or 2 years ago. I'm not quite sure. But PSG offloading Areola for a free transfer. I believe that was just him signing after his contract running out at PSG. That's a pretty good pickup for Fulham, who clearly had goalkeeper problems last time they were in the Premier League 2 years ago, when they were relegated by the skin of their teeth. They also signed Mario Lemina out of Southampton, $2.4 million. Not a bad fee for a decent player. Same thing with Anthony Knockaert, who's always been around in the Premier League and always playing for Premier League sides, and he's had an impact at times, but every time I think of him, I can't help but think about that Watford game in the promotion playoffs with the blocked penalty and taken all the way back for a Troy Deeney goal to send them up. But that was a while ago. I just love that goal with all my heart. Anyways, back to the game. I believe that Arsenal can be one of the strongest teams this year, and I believe that they can make a run for the top 3 even, depending on how other teams do. But something bothers me, and I think it's their defense. They did just have big-time signing Gabriel. I can't recall where he came out. Oh, Lille. That's right. He came from Lille. Also signing Willian to right wing. I'm not sure how much time he's going to see because I really enjoyed those Arsenal youngsters last season. So hopefully we see more of them. Daniel Ceballos is coming back on loan from Real Madrid. And that's basically the only notable things they've done in the transfer market. But they've strengthened where we feel like they had their biggest weaknesses. So I think that they can be I stretch to say title contender because there's just a lot of really great Premier League teams this year. And it's going to be a great season, but it's just teams like Arsenal that are good, but they're not incredible, amazing yet. It's not really even fair to call them good. I would say that they're great. I would say that they're great to amazing, but there are better teams in the Premier League than them, so I struggle to name them title contenders. Anyways, on to the game. I believe that Arsenal smashed Fulham. I don't know how Fulham's defense is going to adapt to Premier League. They have to deal with Aubameyang. Anybody who deals with Aubameyang is probably going to struggle. So I understand that Fulham's are going to come out and they're going to be excited that they're back in the Premier League. They're going to have probably a lot of energy, but Arsenal pull away with a win in this one. In the next game, the one at 10 a.m., this is all Eastern time, by the way. Crystal Palace versus Southampton. Now, I was recently reading a graphic that was put out by The Atlantic, a study that was done of their subscribers, basically, asking how excited they are for the new season. I believe the measure was hope. They asked how hopeful they are for the next season. I'll get more into this later, but my dearly beloved West Ham was at 8.8% of the people that they asked were hopeful. That means 92% of them were not hopeful for the upcoming season. Why is this important for Southampton? Because they had a whopping 98% of their fan base that was interviewed by The Atlantic said that they are hopeful for the new season. Where does this confidence lie? You might ask yourself. Danny Ings. Danny Ings was excellent at the end of the season last year. I believe he bagged like 7 goals after restart, which the only person that had more than him was Mikel Antonio with West Ham because he was just on crack for some reason. He had a great restart. I like them in this game. I think I have them with the edge over Crystal Palace. The thing that worries me about Crystal Palace the most is uh, first of all, I should mention they recently signed another West Ham target, Eze. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I apologize if it's not. But Eze going to Crystal Palace for a fee of, I believe, 20 million. And that was a big blow for West Ham fans especially, but it is a great strength into that squad. What worries me are the winger options for Crystal Palace. Obviously, Zaha has been playing at a high level, a Premier League level for years now. My worry is if he can keep it up. I'm sure he can, but as the years go on, you have to start asking, okay, is this the season when the depleting physical attributes start to show? Maybe not, but there's only one way to find out, and that's by watching this game tomorrow. I'm also more concerned about the left wing, seeing Townsend over there. I think that would have been a great pick probably 2 to 3 years ago when he was playing at his peak, but now it feels more like a liability. But for my gut, I'm going to choose Southampton, not because of those reasons that I just gave of Crystal Palace, of not trusting them. I actually think this is going to be a great game. High scoring, probably a 3-2 matchup coming from Crystal Palace's weapons and Zaha, and then maybe a Danny Ings hat trick. I'd love to see it, but who knows? New season. Anyways, moving on to the next game on my list, which is the 12:30 p.m. matchup between the defending champions of the Premier League, Liverpool, going up against the defending champions of the Championship, Leeds United, who have extremely strengthened their squad in this summer transfer window. Most notable signing being Rodrigo, coming in from Valencia, who had a very good season in the Spanish league, and he's been up and coming for a couple years now. And it's nice to see him get a big-time Premier League move, especially to a team that's just been relegated, and he can really go and make a difference in this squad. Past him, there haven't been that many extremely notable signings. Augustine from Leipzig, he will either be playing beside or maybe even behind Rodrigo, or not at all. Maybe he'll play in a solo striker formation, or maybe they'll play Rodrigo out wide. But either way, this Leeds squad is very strong. I'm not going for an easy win for Liverpool, even though I do feel like Liverpool will win this game. It'll be closer. For the same reasons I give for Fulham versus Arsenal, Leeds are going to come out and they're going to really want this game. Being back in the Premier League for the first time in a long time, they'll want to open up the season with a win, and a win over the Premier League champions. I mean, that would really kick off the season. I already feel like that they're going to be at least a mid-table team. But they could do even better than that, really. They could push for top 6. They could push for Europa League, really. But yeah, I have a Liverpool in a slim victory. Another great game. And let me tell you, it won't be a great game. This one at 3. West Ham versus Newcastle. As a West Ham fan, you really just hate to see what's happened this summer. For just disclosure of what I'm about to discuss, we are not counting Thomas Soucek as a summer transfer window transfer. To me, he was a winter transfer because of, well, for anybody unfamiliar, he was loaned out to us in January from Praga. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we had an option to buy, and we took that option. Excuse me, I shouldn't really be saying we. West Ham took that option to buy this summer, which I believe was a fee of about £17 million. I'm not 100% sure. But it's a great signing. It really is. It just wasn't in the summer window. And I think West Ham fans expected the ownership and the coaching staff to really push to improve this team. And instead, last week we got the absolute shell shock that Grady Diangana was going to be sold to possible relegation rivals West Brom. He was loaned out to there last season, helped them get promoted, and now he's going back. And he's going back on a permanent. And I think the worst part of it all is that a left winger that would have started for West Ham United is leaving the club for £18 million in today's market, where I don't want to hear these COVID excuses because all these other teams are spending big. Leeds, Chelsea, although I do understand Chelsea was on a transfer ban, so they probably had a lot of money built up. But Leeds, Chelsea, those teams all spending, despite COVID. It is just the stingy owners of David Gold, David Sullivan, and Karen Brady. It's embarrassing, to say the least. It's embarrassing to be a West Ham fan, and it really sucks because you got the Tarkowski bid going in as soon as the Grady bid was pushed through and accepted. And you have to think, this has been done in the past to cover up the issues that have happened at West Ham. They've alerted the media about some signing, some breakout signing, and West Ham fans are saying that we're going to spend $40 million on Tarkowski, and that's absolute bull. If you think that these owners are spending $40 million on a player, obviously Sebastian Haller was our record signing last year, £45 million, I believe. And people will say that it was worth nothing because he didn't show up this year. I'm actually really excited for him to probably play beside Mikel Antonio. But I don't think anything is saving this team. The only reason I wouldn't put them in relegation, which I'll talk more about this later, is if Declan Rice was sold to Chelsea, which, by the way, would give Chelsea probably the greatest transfer window of all time, if you're curious on my opinion about that. But more about the other guys. Newcastle United. They've actually had quite a decent transfer window. They signed Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson from AFC Bournemouth. Fraser came on free. He was being looked at by quite a different couple teams. One being West Ham, and didn't really look into him all that much. But I feel like he would have been a great Grady replacement. Possibly offloading Anderson at the same time. But he goes to Bournemouth instead. Callum Wilson, obviously just an absolutely great striker, playing at the Premier League level for a bit of time now. And Bournemouth's issues really didn't lie in their attacking options, because they had their attacking options. Fraser and Wilson were both really well. I mean, they were great all year, I would even say. So that relegation did surprise me, but now those players are available to other teams in the Premier League, and teams like Newcastle United, who probably had a disappointing season by their standards, finishing in the bottom of mid-table. They go, hey, why don't we pick up these players and try and strengthen our team a little bit more? This is going to be a wide victory for Newcastle United against West Ham United. I will give a score for this one. I'm going to go 3-0, because that's just the way it goes in West Ham world. All right, now we're going to do some awards for the upcoming season and the past transfer window. And there's one team that I've been really excited to talk about for about a week now, because of how exciting their whole transfer window has been. Obviously, if you've been following closely, you would know that that team is Chelsea. Chelsea have had an absolutely amazing transfer window. As I said earlier, if they complete the signing of Declan Rice, which is looking more and more unlikely by the day because West Ham seem to be pretty stuck on their 80 million asking price, and personally that's what I believe he's worth as well, but I think saying that will get me slain by Chelsea fans apparently. Anyways, a couple of great signings to really highlight first. Kai Havertz from Bayer Leverkusen. I think my favorite anecdote about Kai Havertz was, I think it was 3 years ago, he was listed out for a Champions League game because of exams, because he was so young and he was playing on a top flight Bayer Leverkusen team. He had to miss that game because he was taking high school exams. And now look at him. I mean, he's just an absolute stud. He's moving to Chelsea for $88 million, which is an absolutely astronomical fee. But I think if you're going to pay that for anybody in the world of football today, it should be Kai Havertz. I mean, he's an absolute wonder kid. Him and Erling Haaland, Declan Rice, all these young players that are coming up are so exciting to watch, and they're gonna get the transfer fees that they deserve. Another young one, Timo Werner, moving to Chelsea for a fee of $58 million. This is a really good transfer for both sides. Chelsea, they were doing okay with Tammy Abraham at striker. He was getting a lot of balls fed to him, and he was scoring a lot of goals. But when you can strengthen it to the scale of Timo Werner, who's been just obliterating defenses in the Bundesliga for 2-3 years now, longer than that really, but he hasn't really gained the recognition until that time. I mean, he's just going to tear up in the Premier League. I expect great things with him. They basically took two of the best players from the Bundesliga and put them on one team. Kai Havertz and Timo Werner joining on one team is absolutely incredible. I cannot wait for those two to link up this season, and I think that'll make Chelsea games fun to watch, even as a neutral fan. And for me personally, it's hard to be a neutral fan in games that I don't really have any dog in the fight. On top of Timo and Kai Havertz, they also strengthened their defense incredibly. One of my favorite center backs of all time, Thiago Silva, on a free transfer from PSG. His contract was up, and he said, you know what, time for a Premier League move. Only wish that David Luiz was still here to bring back the partnership of Thiago Silva and David Luiz when they're at PSG and tearing everything up. But unfortunately, that isn't the case because David Luiz is garbage now. Anyways, strengthening left back as well in Ben Chilwell. What a great player out of Leicester City. And side note, Leicester City's absolutely rolling in cash at this point. I mean, they've sold Maguire for over 80 million and now Ben Chilwell for 55. That's absolutely incredible. And not to mention, on top of all those transfers, they have Hakim Ziyech from Ajax on a 44 million transfer fee. And let me tell you, this is a really exciting transfer because this happened earlier before COVID really took effect, but he hasn't played a game yet. Anyways, he is such an exciting player. I really hope that he can keep up his pace at Ajax in the Premier League. That's my only worry, is that, you know, things were too easy in the Netherlands for him. But he is such a gifted player, and when Ajax made their Champions League run in 2018, 19? I'm not sure, but they beat, giants, and Hakim Ziyech, he had a great year, and he had a great Champions League run. he really led that team to some glory. Also with Daily Blind, shout out to him for being an absolute legend. Anyways, moving on to the worst transfer window. Should come as no surprise. I kind of already talked about this, but West Ham easily had the worst transfer window, not strengthening and getting rid of starters. For a start is really bad, by the way, if you weren't aware. West Ham have problems that lie deeper than the squad that's on the pitch. Mark Noble spoke out against the owners in a tweet after the transaction of Grady to West Brom. The club's a wreck. It really is. And without an ownership change, I don't see much changing anytime soon. The way that they can swing me back to their side is getting Tarkowski for $40 million. But what will ruin it all is if Declan Rice is sold. If Declan Rice is sold, this season is a loss and West Ham will be relegated. And I'll explain that why later, but that's how I feel, and that's what I'm sticking to. Anyways, moving on to the most exciting team. Talked more about this earlier, but Leeds. Leeds is definitely a really exciting team. For a team that just won the championship, obviously you're expecting a lot. But for Leeds, I mean, they are a historical team. You expect them to come into the Prem and dominate. Not really dominate, but you not get relegated right away. Probably not finish lower mid-table. You want this team to kind of return to their glory in a way, especially as a neutral fan that knows that they're not going to be in a relegation battle because they have strengthened their squad so much. However, that's what I thought about Newcastle after the signing of Joelinton. Anyways, Leeds' most exciting team easily. I explained earlier, Rodrigo, all these exciting transfers. I'm very excited to see what they do in the Premier League. And moving on to sleeper team. I have Everton written down for this. Here's my explanation. Everton have strengthened their squad to limits that they have not seen before, which is why I would describe them as a sleeper team, because I know a lot of people that watch the Premier League that are listening are probably going, well, Everton's been good for a long time. I agree with you. However, I think that they can absolutely exceed their limits in this season. Let me explain to you what they've done to their midfield. Signing Decore from relegated Watford. Excuse me, not relegated. Are they relegated? Yes, yeah, they were relegated. Anyways, signing Decore from relegated Watford. The big one, in my opinion, as long as he's still got it, James Rodriguez from Real Madrid. He was being loaned out for a while, and it looks like Real Madrid don't need his services anymore, so Everton said, hey, $25 million, we will definitely take him. And one of the most exciting signings for me, I'm so excited to watch him play in the Premier League, Allen from Napoli, a great box-to-box midfielder. He can basically do it all. He can shoot. He can defend. It's whatever you need, really. And I'm excited to watch him play. They get Tosin back on loan, return from loan. And this is a really strong squad. Now, why they're sleepers, I feel like if you don't watch them close enough, or if you underestimate them, this team could finish in the top 5, possibly. I've never been one to overhype Everton because I know everybody does it every year, but this year I'm joining the fray, and I am overhyping Everton. I could see them in the top 6 finish. I really could. I could see them at 6. I could see them at 4. It really just depends on how other teams do this season, which I'm expecting a lot. So, yeah. Everton is my sleeper team of the season. And for the final segment of this wonderful little solo pod tonight, we're going to do my predictions for relegation and title winner. I'm going to do a full table prediction, and I believe we will have the Curtis Fader here for that one. And we'll go position by position and talk about why and who we put there. Well, who and why, really, I should say. But for now, we're just going to do relegation and title winners. My relegation has a bit of stipulations, basically conditions. I have two, maybe guaranteed, maybe not. I have probably 5 teams that are going to be fighting for relegation as well. And those 5 teams are West Ham, Aston Villa, West Brom, Fulham, and possibly Newcastle being in that bottom 3. But I know you're saying, but didn't Fulham kind of strengthen their squad? And I would tell you yes, but did they do everything they could? And do they have a Premier League squad? I'm not sure yet. I would love to see this team play, and I would love for them to surprise me, but I see nothing but a repeat of 2018, coming up and then going right back down, which is a nightmare for a championship level team. But it's just the way it goes in the Premier League. It's deadly. You get caught off guard for a couple of games, and next thing you know, you're on a 15-game losing streak. So my 3, I'm going to put Aston Villa. Oh, excuse me. There's actually a 6th team that I'm pretty worried about. Brighton. Brighton haven't really strengthened all that much, and they didn't finish by that many points in 2019-20 season. So I have Aston Villa, West Ham, and Fulham being relegated. Now, if West Ham keep Declan Rice, they will not be relegated. And here's my reason why. The Thomas Soucek and Declan Rice duo at defensive midfield is going to save this team. That defense is broken and just, it's disgusting. The signing of Tarkowski would obviously be a big deal, but I am about 95% sure it's not going to happen. So I get really worried picking West Ham not to get relegated, because out of all the years I've been watching them, I've never felt so sure that they would be relegated. Over the past 2 years, I've said in my head, yeah, this might be the year where they finally go down. But I feel like just like Southampton, they just persist and they stay up, at least over the last decade. However, if they keep Declan Rice, my prediction is that it'll be Brighton in the bottom half. I think Newcastle and West Brom are probably going to survive by the skin of their teeth, just like every season, it seems like. But these teams aren't bad. It just really depends on if they can put it together. I believe in Slaven Bilic at West Brom. I think he's a pretty decent coach. He saw us through the Dimitri Payet situation at West Ham, which was a total catastrophe. And to think back to that and think we're in a worse situation now is absolutely laughable. But yeah, those are my relegation predictions and my title winner. I've been talking about him a lot lately, and you probably guessed it from my hint, but I, as an early title winner, I have Chelsea. I think that they'd strengthened their squad too much, and they've added too many stars that I just cannot see them finishing any below, third place, let alone first. I believe we're going to have a great title race this year. It's going to probably be between Chelsea, City, and Liverpool. If I could give just off the top of my head prediction, I would say it would go Chelsea, City, Liverpool. That'd be my order. Maybe flip Liverpool and City. But it'll be a tight race this year. I think teams are going to beat up on each other. Teams that need points out of lower table teams, and teams on the lower half of the table that need points against higher table teams are going to fight harder. And they're going to take points from teams that nobody would really expect. And that'll screw teams like Chelsea, because no matter how good of a squad they have, they have to have the heart. They have to have the will to do it. Alrighty then, those have been my predictions. If you'd like to ask us anything or send us something that maybe you want our opinions on, or maybe a question that we can answer on a podcast, if you're a soccer fan, or really if you're listening to get into soccer, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. If you're an NBA fan, NFL fan, we cover all sports here. We are Sports Break Ohio. However, we cover all sports around the nation. We are just based out of Ohio University. And if you want to ask us anything, give us any feedback, you can contact us at Sports Break Ohio on Twitter, or you can contact me at Max Brunke Tweets on Twitter. Well, it's been a great solo pod. I'm really glad to get back in front of the microphone and talk some sports. Really, it's been hard not having it here, and God, am I happy to have sports back. It may not be normal yet with fans, but as long as everybody's staying safe and someday we can have that experience again, I think I'm okay with these circumstances. My name is Max Brunke, and do not forget to take a sports break.